Hello, welcome to Confessions of a Frustrated Game Master. I am Robert the Narrator, and this is going to be a Narraider review. Yes, a Narraider review I haven't done in many episodes, and I'm going to be reviewing the RPG Unity. And Unity is by Zinsara Studios, published by Modiphius Entertainment. Modiphius is a real big company out there doing a ton of role-playing games, and Unity is one of its newest publications, and I'm going to go ahead and review this right now. So what drew me to Unity? Well, a year or more ago, somewhere online, I came across the quick start rules for the game and found out that they were doing a Kickstarter. At that time, I checked out the quick start rules, and the game at that point seemed a lot more complex than I remember thinking it was when I just recently took a look at the core rule book at my friendly local game store. I thought it was a gorgeous game, but I thought that it was too complex at that time, a year and a half ago. So I didn't pursue it much further. But then at my friendly local game store just a few weeks ago, I saw it on the shelf. I remembered that I had seen the Kickstarter and the quick start rules, and I thumbed through it, and I was blown away by the art. I was blown away by the simplicity of the rules. I don't know what I was thinking about. Maybe I was confusing it with another game that looked very similar a few years ago, but whatever it was, the game that I feel that I took a look at with the quick start rules and on the Kickstarter, it was not the same game as far as complexity. So that's really what drew me to Unity. The gorgeous art of the game and the system seem very straightforward and really in my wheelhouse as far as complexity. So that's really what drew me to Unity. Now, what is the game about? I'm going to go ahead and read that to you right off of the back of the core rule book itself. If I can get the camera to cooperate here. So it says here, four factions, one destiny. Punished, forsaken, and left for dead by the very hand that created them, four races must come together and unite against the grim horrors of a world set on fire. So unite, Unity, that's the name of the game. And it also says, explore the forgotten remnants of a once golden age when mortals rose to challenge gods. Rediscover long forgotten ancient technologies that blur the lines between reality and wonder. Stride atop colossal mechanized machines of war from a bygone era. Embrace the discovery of new and exciting cultures in a scarred landscape full of secrets and hidden beauty. So that is what the game is all about. It is about the four races of the Unity RPG coming together after being forsaken by their gods and trying to struggle against this world that is very different from what it used to be. So that's what the whole idea behind Unity is, a coming together of these races that have been forsaken by their gods, and now they want to work together to survive this very dangerous world that they have I guess they have inherited. So that is what the game is all about. You are the heroes. You are from one of these four different races, of course, which we will take a look at, and you're trying to unite with the other races and survive this world. Gonna go ahead and adjust the camera back here. So that's what the game is about. Now, what is the setting of Unity? Now, of course, as you saw from the little blurb there, it said something about war machines and so forth. But this is a high fantasy setting. It is a fantasy setting. It seems as though the one of the races were able to master kind of steam technology. So there is a little bit of steampunk built into this fantasy setting. But if you look at the map here, it is indeed a fantasy setting. You have your different races here on the edges of the map. And of course, you have your four different races on the front cover, which I am not a huge fan of the cover in particular. It's kind of weird looking through my the screen on my phone. It kind of brightens up the cover, and it feels like I can see more details, and it's kind of weird. I'm kind of more of a fan of the cover when I'm looking at it through my phone than when I actually look at it. It looks a little bit darker, and you don't see as many details. But I'm not a huge fan of the art of the cover. But that, when you get into the interior, that completely changes. So yes, the setting is a high fantasy setting with these four races. And this book is really gorgeous. So I'm going to go ahead and open it up and talk a little bit more about the setting as you're looking at the book. And this is gorgeous. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this is the Ivory Queen, one of the gods in the setting. You basically, the four races were created by the two most powerful gods in the setting. You have the Ivory Queen, who I'm pretty sure this is an illustration of, and you have the Sky Father. And they, in the setting, they created the four different races of the setting. Look at this art, man. This art is amazing. It really immerses you in the world. And we actually have a little bit of a timeline here. And essentially, you have, from the timeline in the setting, you have the emergence of the Sky Father and the Ivory Queen. And they created the first race in the setting, the Vala. And I'll show you an image of the Vala. Well, actually, I can go to the front cover. These are the Vala, and the Vala are very meditative, and they can have kind of a communal system where they have crystals in the center of their foreheads that allow them to communicate with one another. And what the Sky Father and the Ivory Queen wanted the Vala to do is explore this incredible world and go out and journey throughout the world and tame this world that has been created. And the Vala was so introspective. They really didn't go out and explore and conquer the world as the Sky Father and the Ivory Queen wanted them to. So then the Ivory Queen and the Sky Father created the Furians. And these are the Furians here. They are kind of like a feline race, and they dwell in a volcanic area. This area right over here, if you look at the map, Furia, this very hot volcanic area, and they can be taken over by rage, and they are very combative. And they thought that the Furians would go out and explore the world and be more adventurous than the Vala. And it turned out that the Furians also were not willing to go out and explore the world. So finally, the Skyfather and the Ivory Queen created humanity. They created man, and man had such a short lifespan that they were more adventurous and willing to go out and to try to tame the world and explore the world. And that was kind of more to the liking of what the Skyfather and the Ivory Queen wanted. Of course, the different races, they contacted one another, and the humans created this steam technology where they had automatons. Basically, they call them steel children, to handle their menial everyday tasks, and they would create these powerful steam-powered machines as they explored, and they used their steel children to take care of the menial tasks as they were out adventuring the world. The humans are the ones who brought this steam technology into the world. And then after the three races were created, you have something called the Chaos Wars, which broke out between the three different races. And as this was happening, the Skyfather went on a sojourn. So he disappeared, and there was this great war going on between the three races. And the Ivory Queen was left behind, and she decided to create the Crimson Horde, a foe that all three races of the world of unity could come together to fight against. And the three races, the humans, the Furians, and the Vala, did come together and fight the Crimson Horde. And this brought about after defeating the Crimson Horde, this brought about the Golden Age, where technology and knowledge and culture flourished immensely. And then the Ivory Queen became known as the Red Queen, and the three races had no choice but to slay her and defeat her. And after defeating her, the Skyfather returned. They found that his love had been slain, and that caused the great calamity. Basically, the Skyfather returned and cursed his children, sundering the very fabric of reality. And essentially, you have another dimension in the setting called the Drift, and the Drift is kind of a primordial dimension where all of the emotions and thoughts and pain and joy coalesces. And when reality was sundered, the Drift started to leak into reality, into creation, and that unleashed horrible creatures from the Drift into the real world. And also the automatons that were created by the humans gained sentience, and this caused the great calamity and a civil war that raged for many years. Also, there was a great disease called the phage, which affected many humans, and that created the last race of the setting, who are the afflicted. Essentially, they are the best and brightest of the humans, and they are afflicted by a disease that will slowly kill them, and they use some magical technology and artifacts to maintain their lifespans, but they are constantly cursed, and they have been exiled from human society. So that is the setting that you find yourself in. This time is called the Age of Wrath, where the The Sky Father has become the Mad God. The Red Queen, formerly the Ivory Queen, has been slain by the three races. And now this world, you have the drift leaking into reality, demons attacking, also the formerly dead are rising from the ground because of the effects of the drift leaking into reality because of the great calamity involving the Sky Father. And that is why the races have to come back together to fight this horrible happening. And you have right here, this art is just gorgeous. And I think you have right here, you have an image of the Sky Father. And I'm going to move through the book now and going to talk a little bit about the system. First, I'm going to start with character creation. So you have 4 races, as I said, in the system, and I probably will hate to admit this, but the system very much so reminds me of 4th edition Dungeons and Dragons, and I know that's going to be a big no-no to a lot of players out there. The system really does remind me of 4th edition Dungeons and Dragons. It seems as though combat is a little quicker, looking at the starting hit points for characters and the type of damage that's done. Look at how gorgeous this is. These are the breakdowns. This is the Furian or Furia. The Furian territory, and I'm just going to go ahead and get to character creation here. But this book is very gorgeous. Going to get to character creation. So I really love the system. The system is really elegant and simple, and that's one thing that made me purchase this book, even though I may never play. So what you have here, I guess the first thing that I'll show you is the character sheet. Whenever I look at a role-playing game, the first thing I look at is the character sheet to see how simple the game is. So as you can tell from the character sheet here, you have your 4 stats. You have might, agility, mind, and presence. And those are really the core of the game. And you don't use a D20. They mixed it up a little bit, thank goodness. And they don't use a D20 with the system. They use 2D10, and you roll and add them together. And essentially what you do is you add your stat to the roll. Now the system is a system in which the GM does not roll. And I really love that. Right now I'm playing Cypher System, which is also a system where the GM doesn't roll. And I didn't know that until I brought the book home and read it, that it was a situation where the GM never rolls. And I really love that. I think it's very unique. The players roll to attack and they roll for defense against the bad guys. So essentially you have your 4 stats, might, agility, and mind and presence, and you choose your race. And your races, I will pull those up really quickly, give you your starting values. So for instance, the Furians start with a 2 in might, a 1 in agility, a 0 in mind, and a 0 in presence. Humans, as you probably can imagine, start with 1 in everything. The Vala have a 0 in might, a 2 in agility, a 1 in mind, and a 1 in presence. And as part of the character creation process, you have 2 arrays. You have option 1, and essentially what option 1 does is it gives you the option to put a +1 in one agility, one stat, a +1 in another stat, 0 in one stat, and -1 in another stat. That's option 1. Or you can take option 2 and you can put a +2 in one stat, a 0 in another stat, a 0 in another stat, and a -1 in a 4th stat. So you have those 2 options. No stat can have a value higher then +3. And the core resolution mechanic for the game is whenever you want to do something, if you're going against an inanimate foe, if you're doing a task, it's very simple. You roll 2d10, you add your stat to the roll, and you go against a target number. And it's super easy, really, really straightforward. See if I can find the difficulty chart. It's on 253, if I remember correctly. Yes, here you are. So you have your target numbers here. Let's see if I can get in on that there. You have your target numbers. A simple task has a target number of 5. An easy task is 8. Standard is 12. Demanding is 15. Challenging is 18. Heroic is 22. Outstanding is 26. And legendary is 30. So you add your stat to your roll, and you go against a static target number when you are when you're attempting your action. Now, NPCs have an attack rating, and when a NPC attacks a PC, the PC rolls same thing. They roll 2d10. They add their defensive score to it, which is based on their agility, and they go against that target number, which is the NPC's attack rating. And when they are attacking an NPC, they go against the NPC's defensive rating. So the GM never rolls, and I really love that. The system is very straightforward and very easy to understand. So after you have established your ability scores, I'm going to jump back here. And determine your race. The next thing that you do is you choose your class. So in the game, you have a number of classes here. Sorry about that. And you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 classes. You have the Dreadnought, which is an unstoppable fighter who thrives on the heat of battle. You have what's called a Driftwalker, which is an occult caster specializing in blood magics and dark bargains. A Fell Hunter is a deadly marksman with heightened senses and an axe to grind with the demonic. So they're kind of like a ranged fighter. You have the Judge, who is a righteous warrior powered by divine and fighting for justice. You have the Mystic, who is a student of the magical arts and manipulates and binds reality to her will. You have the Phantom, who is basically your rogue. Your Priest, who is a divine caster. Your Primalist, who is a hybrid warrior harnessing the power of nature. And you have your Sentinel, who is kind of your tank fighter. So they have all different varieties of fighters here. Look at that piece of art. I really love the art in the game. And essentially what you do is very much like Dungeons and Dragons. You choose your class. You have an advancement chart here. When you get experience points and advance up to the next level, it tells you everything that you get here on the chart. Every dot tells you get an HP boost. You get an attribute boost at some point. And all of the different classes have what are called powers. And I know when you're talking about a fantasy role-playing game, people did not like that 5th edition used the term power when you're talking about a fantasy RPG, but that's what they call it. I don't have an issue with the term powers, but just looking at the Dreadnought here, essentially what you have is you have your starting HP, which is 14 plus the Dreadnought's might. You have your recuperation die, which is a D10. and that is essentially how much you get back in the way of hit points when you take a long rest. You have the types of armor you can wear, which a dreadnought can wear light or heavy armor. You have weapons. A dreadnought can be competent with medium melee or heavy melee weapons. And then you have your resource. Now, resources power your powers. And almost every class has a different resource that they use. And the resource for the dreadnought is called Fury. And some of their abilities require you to spend Fury. So, for example, as a standard action, the dreadnought, if you look at the cleave ability, can spend 2 Fury and affect up to 1d4 targets. And you roll a basic attack roll, and you roll 1d4 to determine how many adjacent enemies are struck. And if you're successful, you deal 1d10 plus half your level in damage to all of those targets. If you fail, you deal half that damage. And it costs you 2 Fury points. And every one of the player characters' resources have a recharge rating. And the recharge for the Dreadnought's Fury resource is 1d4. So you can, I'm pretty sure you get a recharge whenever you take a full rest or a long rest. And if you're doing an action and you roll doubles, you can do a recharge to get some of your resource points back. So the game is very simple. You have your class features. You get both of your class features here. So the Dreadnought gets his shield breaker ability and cleave. And then if you go down here you get to pick a perk. And then what you do is you come over and you look at your powers, and you have your tier 1 powers. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You get 10 to choose from, and a first level character starts with 3 of those. So you get to choose 3 of the 10 powers that you have to construct your character with. And the last thing you do, which is something that's very interesting to me, is you have what are called core paths. Now, the game really doesn't have skills. What they've tried to do is they've tried to merge skills with kind of backgrounds, and they call them core paths. And basically, you get 3 core paths doing character creation, and you narratively come up with things that has happened to your character in his past. And whenever your character is doing something, if they can relate their core path to the action that they're doing, they get to add a bonus to their role. So just to give you an example, they have a character here who was kind of constructed using the rules, and you have a couple of core paths here. And essentially what you do is you get, like I said, you choose 3 core paths, and then you get 5 points. You have to have at least 1 point in each core path. And this character has 3 core paths, as you can see. They have 3 in their Warrior's Heart core path, 1 in Lone Survivor, and 1 in Scholar's Daughter. And looking at the Warrior's Heart, so what it says is, the halls of Mount Furia oozed with warrior culture. Trophies, weapons, and armor adorned the walls. Cora grew up immersed and enchanted in a society that valued physical might. She was always eager to compete in the athletic competitions and strive to keep up with her older brothers. So that is kind of a skill. So that 3 would be a +3 to any athletics-based skills. And the character justifies it through this narrative background information. So the game doesn't have skills. They have these core paths which are a cross between a background, skills, and a little narrative flavor. So every time a character's core path comes into play, they tell the GM how that core path applies to what they're currently trying to do. And if the GM agrees, you add the number to your role that you think would apply based on the core path. So I really like that idea. As I said, this game is fairly simple. I like the idea of not having a massive list of skills. And also, I love systems that ask the players as part of character creation to give their character some character. I've always loved that idea. And again, the system, as I said, is fairly straightforward. I'm going to pull up an NPC here. Look at this. Look at how gorgeous this art is. Let me back up here. Look at how gorgeous this art is. You have Aquilians. They're birdmen. And I really love this art. Look at this guy. Look at this guy. What is this called, guy? A carapid. This thing looks awesome. And what I really like about the game is the fact that the NPCs are really easy to understand. What you have here is you have their hit points, you have their armor. So he has 3 armor. You have their speed. So in case what they do during combat is you narratively determine who's going to go first. Like if the player characters were ambushing someone, the player characters would go first, and all of the player characters go, and then all of the bad guys go. Or if the bad guys were going first, all of the bad guys would go. And they do this so that the players and NPCs can coordinate their attacks and use teamwork. Or if there is no clear narrative reason why one side would go before the other, of course, the PCs roll their speed, which is basically, again, 2d10 plus their agility, and they would go against the speed of, losing focus here, the speed of the NPC, which is a 16. So this guy is fairly fast. Then you have this near the sword, you have a 17. That's their attack rating. So when they attack the PC wants to roll their defense rating. They want to roll 2d6 at their defense rating and beat the 17 or higher. They want a 17 or higher. Then you have the defense rating of the NPC. So when the PC are attacking, that's what the PC wants to roll. And then you have the mental rating. So when someone's trying to use magic or mind affecting on the NPC, that's what they have to roll against. So I love these stat blocks. They're super easy to understand. And yeah, essentially you get a standard action, a move action, and free actions. And you make your attacks, you make your defensive rolls, and the system is super easy and really straightforward. And I really love that about the system. The art is gorgeous, and of course you have hit points. So for instance, this cultist here, he has a melee attack. It's just a melee attack. It's a D8 plus 3. So when he attacks a PC, if he hits, the PC rolls the damage, the D8 plus 3, and then you subtract the armor. The cultist actually doesn't have any armor, and that gets subtracted from their hit points. So they have 24 hit points. So the characters seem a little squishy in this system also, but I'm not going to spend much more time. This video has already been really, really long. Want to talk about the art and organization. Well, I've already been talking about the art, and it is gorgeous, and I approve this art. That is the thing that made me decide to buy this game when there is almost zero chance that I'm ever going to run this system. The art, look at that guy, man, that is awesome. I think this book is gorgeous, and it is very well organized. I find it very easy to move through the book. Everything is where it should be. You don't have to jump back and forth between, look at that, right? Look at that piece right there. Jump back and forth to find things. Everything is consolidated in one, where it should be. Again, the art is gorgeous. I want to show you some of the artifacts that they have here. And for me, I know a lot of folks say they don't want pictures shown to them, but I'm somewhat of a visual guy, and I don't think any amount, these are the artifacts, I don't think any amount of GM description is going to bring this kind of gorgeous art to life. I find it more immersive to know what things look like. You know, look at this. Look at this guy right here. I mean, I don't care how good of a description your GM is giving you. He's not going to bring this to life for you. I love seeing the art. I find it more immersive to have, to see this really gorgeous artwork. So the art is amazing. The organization is incredible. And let's go ahead and give my overall review for Unity, the role-playing game. What I will say is that the writing, that there are some errors in the book as far as writing, but I haven't seen a ton of errors. It's not the most scintillating writing that I've ever seen, but I would say that the writing is solid. If you are someone who wants to be blown away by the writing, and you really get a lot out of fantastic, solid, mind-shattering writing, Unity is probably not going to do it for you. It's the setting seems fairly basic. You know, the people have been forsaken by their gods. I've seen it before, definitely. But for me, even though the writing is not the best I've ever seen, I think that the simplicity of the system, the rendering of the world, which is gorgeous, is enough for me to recommend Unity, the role-playing game. And I also love to when steampunk is incorporated in my fantasy, because there aren't, I guess there are some systems out there that do it, but I never get an opportunity to play high fantasy with a tinge of steampunk. So anytime I see that, I always really like it. And basically, the way my review system works is I give the book a review based on one of the polyhedral dice. So D4, D6, D8, D10, D12, and D20. A D4 is no, stay away from this game. D6 is meh. Maybe you want to get it. Maybe you want to think about it. D8 is good. D10 is very good. D12 is amazing. And D20 is go out and get this game right now. It'll change your life. I'm going to go ahead and give Unity a D10. It is a very good game. Gorgeous, simple rules, very straightforward. It's not hobby altering because of the background, but it does a lot of strong things, especially the core paths I really like, adding some background and some narrative to the setting, which is always better for me than a ton of skills. And yeah, a D10 rating. I really like it, and maybe one day I'll get to try it. It's a really simple, straightforward system, so maybe one day I'll do a one-shot of it. Well, this video has been long enough. Thanks for checking out this Narraider review, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever and whenever you are. Thanks a lot.